Pascal Brun has his work cut out for him. As head of sustainability at H&M, he's determined to have the fashion giant's ambitious sustainability goals sewn up in under 20 years. H&M wants to become climate positive by 2040, and by doing so wants to change the very fabric of the global fashion industry as a whole. I went to meet Pascal Brun in Stockholm, Sweden, to find out more. So, Pascal Brun, many thanks for joining us on Disrupted. Now, the fashion industry does not have a great reputation, does it, when it comes to its green credentials? It's a big carbon emitter. It's the second largest consumer of water globally. But H&M has decided to change that, and not only change that within its own manufacturing system, but it also wants to take the lead globally. Why is that?
Well, I think it all becomes with our size. And with our size comes responsibility as well. So we have the responsibility to change the industry we are in. The way fashion is consumed and produced today is not sustainable. So we have to change, we have to move the system, we have to move into a new model, and we have to transform the industry we are in. And our ambition is to transform from a linear model to become circular.
So we're going to pick all of that apart. But first of all, what I'd like to know from you, Pascal, is this basically led by H&M's conscience, as you're saying, you know, you're a huge manufacturer, you're a brand that's recognized globally, or is this coming from consumer demand, that you ultimately didn't really have a choice?
Well, I think the consumer demand is something that we start to see now, but it really became from a genuine aspect from H&M. We started 1998, our first audit, and at that time, I think we were one of the first few brands to start to do audit on where you produce, where you place your orders. And we started to embed sustainability more and more into our business practices. Right now I can say that in H&M, sustainability is integrated into everything we do. There must be a way to find a correlation between people, planet, and profit.
Now, you mentioned circularity. H&M wants to be 100% circular. So talk me through, for example, the life cycle of my jumper. What would happen to a 100% circular jumper?
To make it more circular, we will have to work on the durability of your jumper. We will have to work on decreasing its carbon footprint, bringing different materials in it, materials that are better for the environment. And then we will have to work on the cyclability of your jumper. So making it to be reused and reused and reused, kept in the loop. This, for example, this jacket that I'm wearing now has been made in collaboration with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. So this is a collection that we have set, which has basically everything in it is made to be more durable, circular, meaning that it's basically pieces and parts that can be disassembled easily and be recycled. And basically it has been used also materials that decrease the footprint. So it's basically recycled cotton jacket with different parts, recycled metal, recycled zippers, and you see no rivets. So you still can make fashionable item without having to damage your cyclability.
Okay, but that's just one jacket, it's just one jumper. How do you do this on the scale, well, a global scale, like H&M's? Is that truly possible today? And if it's not possible today, what needs to be put in place for you to achieve your goals of circularity by 2040?
Well, circularity is key. We need to bring circularity into an holistic approach, which I divide into 5 different steps. The first one is circular design. So what we just talked about. How do we make that design being able to recycle and kept in the loop? Then it's about the choice of materials. How do you bring the materials that are basically better for the environment, but also easy to recycle as well? Then it's about the production processes. How can we, together with our business partner, with our suppliers, decrease the footprint of the factory that has produced this product? So basically looking into water efficiency, looking into decreasing the CO2 emission, putting renewable energy wherever is possible. Then it's about how do you empower your customers to have a sustainable lifestyle. So how do you bring your product into the market? How do you basically enable customers to eventually rent, repair, buy second-hand?
You're based on fast-moving consumer demand, huge turnaround when it comes to clothes. I think up to 16 new collections per year. Are you not kind of almost signing yourselves off?
We will have to find new revenue streams as well. We see an ongoing population as well that demand to consume clothes the way we have done in the past. So there is an ongoing population that we need to educate into consuming better and consuming more responsibly.
But is the era of fast fashion then over?
For me, fast fashion, the way it's handled today, is not sustainable. We have to redefine it with the different partners. We have to establish new relationships. We have to work with governments in the new ways. We have to have different policy in place as well. We should not avoid also the question about what's the role of governments wherever we operate, but wherever we sell as well products.
Part of that circular journey, as you were mentioning, was using recycled materials, but also sustainably sourced materials. Now, for that, I think you've given yourself a target for 2030. Now, that is not very far in the distance at all. So is there the supply to meet the demand that you're going to require?
Today, there is no. So today, we are on a journey to create that supply. So all the work that we do with innovators, together with H&M Foundation, for example, the global change award that we have for the last 5 years, every year, to promote and catalyze innovation, is one way to achieve that. Will that be enough? No, we need to create partnerships as well. We need to bring those innovators and start to create a common partnership of progress. How do we work together? I place an order, you develop further. You place an order, you develop further. And then we create this kind of stream that business creates opportunities.
And then when it comes to issues of microfibers, now that's another big problem that's going to require a lot of innovation, a lot of partnership, as you were saying, because microfibers release loads of plastics into our oceans and responsible for tons of plastics in our oceans. So what kind of textiles are we looking to in the future?
Right now, the microfibers comes mainly from a washing process. So we could also use different technique of washing at home as well, educating customers into how you use a bag, a laundry bag, that basically capture the microfibers. So the microfibers doesn't go into the wastewater. But then we need to work with the industry to find new materials, new techniques of spinning yarn, new techniques of dyeing yarn as well, or dyeing fabrics also. So it has to go a lot with the process itself to solve microplastic.
And then one of the pillars of H&M's transformation is that of transparency. So why is it so important to shine a light on the materials in our clothes, but also the production process of our clothes, which have, you know, the fashion industry has fallen foul so many times when it comes to that, in terms of the conditions in factories, for example?
Well, I think transparency creates trust. So that's a key element in sustainability. So it creates trust and it creates accountability as well. By us being transparent to our customers, to stakeholders, to industry players, to governments as well. So we should enable them to create a choice between this brand, or that product, or that product. And that's what transparency will create.
H&M has also called out players where it believes the people employed in its supply chain are not adhering to the principles that you now espouse at H&M. And I'm thinking of China and the recent scandal in Xinjiang. Now, H&M spoke out about the treatment of Uyghur Muslims in this region, but as a result, you have seen your shops close down. You have also seen a boycott, a backlash against H&M in China. Now, China's a growing market. So what do you do in a situation like that? What have you learned from that?
We need to engage with governments in a different way. We need to explain, probably better, the agenda that we are on and work hand in hand with governments rather than being, at the end, a surprise to anyone around the agenda that we have. So I think here it's an agenda that we are right into right now. So we have not got all the learnings yet from that one, but I think what we need to remain, we need to remain into what type of company we want to be, what type of brand we want to be. We are a brand that have signed and ratified ILO conventions. We are a brand that wants to create a world which is better with H&M than without H&M. And I think we have the size and the impact to do it.
So in terms of transparency, H&M has also committed that its workers across its supply chain, and here we're talking about tens of millions of people, can earn a living wage. Now tell us, what is a living wage and why is it important for H&M to make sure that this happens across its factories?
Well, we've been one of the first brands to adapt a living wage strategy. And this has been crucial for us. This is probably the biggest lever in terms of social that we can have. It's basically getting people out of poverty in a long run. There are 3 dimensions that are crucial in that aspect. One is that there should be a minimum wage revision that is adopted by every government where we are. Second is that we need to put wage mechanism in place at suppliers in order for workers to understand what their wage is about and how they can get higher wages as well. And then third is about how do we empower collective bargaining agreement around wages at suppliers. We need to put mechanism that brings the workers at the center table of negotiation.
This is kind of like a top-down disruption, a bottom-up disruption. But the deadlines you've set yourself are very tight. Do you think you can meet those targets by 2040, realistically?
I'm so confident. 2030 is tomorrow, and our goal on material, we are already, end of last year, 65% of our assortment are either recycled or sustainably sourced. When it comes to 2040, I'm also very confident, because here we're going to see as well government stepping in. We're going to see facilitation of, let's say, renewable energy. We're going to see as well improvements in terms of how we produce, how we dye our materials. We're going to see improvements in decreasing the footprint. We're going to see improvements in fabric innovation. Now we talk about materials that can take out CO2 from the atmosphere to create a new material.
How?
It's a chemical process. You basically take the CO2 out of the atmosphere, the methane, and then you create a material out of it. We're going to grow cotton in a lab in future, I'm pretty sure. We're going to grow already leather from a leather cell. So the leather will not come from a cow or a sheep anymore. These will be innovations that we're going to see in future. And I think we're going to see them rather sooner than later.
A better industry in the future, that's what you aim to achieve, and you want to bring others on board. So what is the biggest lesson that you have learned on that journey, and what would be your best piece of advice for those who you're trying to encourage to join you?
Well, my best piece of advice is dare to be bold. But I think it's about daring to be bold, daring to take commitment, daring to be transparent, daring to put ourselves into a 2040 goal, put ourselves into science-based targets. It's about how do we encourage people and inspire people to take those leads as well. That's the only way we will create a change for our industry. That's the only way we will get customers to believe the journey we are on and get them to choose which brand they want to buy, which product they want to buy, what impact they want to have as well.
So accountability, sustainability and transparency. It's been an absolutely fascinating conversation. Many thanks, Pascal Brun, for joining us on Disrupted.
Thank you, Isabelle. Thanks.